Hi, it's Steffi. Let me turn on this light. Steffi from Steffi's Beads and Baubles. I'm having technical difficulties here. Hold on a minute. Okay. It's been a long day. Okay, that was weird. My ring light will not turn on. There we go. I apologize for that lovely start to my video. Keeping it real, guys. Keeping it real. Anyway, this is Steffi from Steffi's Beads and Baubles. And this is a little kitty I made for Halloween. Now this was inspired by SueMe and her cat Audi. I saw his gorgeous yellowish green eyes and I said, I've got to make a Halloween cat. And this will be going to Sue as a nice surprise for Halloween. I'll be sending it out to her because she has a beautiful black cat, Audi, who is her baby. And he is part of every video she does. He is adorable. So this will be her little namesake for Audi. But I wanted to do a little Halloween one, so I thought I'd start. This is not hair on here. This is the cotton. I used to stuff it. You can use a roller on that. But I hand beaded this little guy together, and this is a tutorial telling you how to do it. He actually does have a very detailed face. Let me see if I can show it to you. I don't know if you can see it. I did do a detailed face. You'll see it in the video. But I was assured by more than one person that their black cat, when photographed, just has bright yellow eyes. So we'll go with that. Anyway, hope you enjoy it. I tried to do a very detailed tutorial for this one. And we'll try to do that in the future. So let's go. Hi, it's Steffi from Steffi's Beads and Baubles, and I'm going to do this little cat. Now, I drew this little cat out based on a cookie cutter I had that was just too bulky. So I fine-tuned it and made this little cat, and this is what we're going to attempt to do. Now, I obviously can't do the eyes like that. I don't know why I drew them like that. The seed bead has to go in the middle. I have no other way to do them. I don't have the ability to get the green I want with a that size with the hole at the bottom. So it will have a different look than this cat, but this is the cat cut out. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out where I want the eyes, and based on this picture I want the eyes. Oh, I don't like how that ear got cut. It's a little there. Now I'm going to come up through the felt, and I'm going to go back down. Now I'm using a size D thread. This is beading thread, and I use one of the brands I like to use is the Nemo or Nemo, and it's size D. And this is a black bonded nylon beading thread, and why I use it is it's so strong. It would cut your finger before it would break. Now this is a big spool. You don't have to buy a spool this big, but I have all the major colors in a big spool. You can buy the smaller spools. Michael's has them. I think they have 2 white and 2 black. It's really expensive, but you use your 40 or 50% off coupon, and that's like $7, $8 for 4 spools. So about $2 a spool, which is about right. But you definitely want to use the coupon. Now once I go back through, I'm going to come back up right about where I want those eyes to be. And what I'm going to do is kind of gauge it based on the drawing I did. Okay, kind of right under the ears. And what I'll do is I'll put this bright orange on there, or not orange, bright greenish yellow for the eyes, because we want the eyes to stand out. Make sure I've got it in the right place. Now the cool thing is if you're slightly off, okay, and then we put my seed bead on there. And then after you get the seed bead onto the needle, then you're going to go back through the sequin, not the seed bead. See, if you notice, I put the needle going through the sequin, but leaving the seed bead separate, because that seed bead, if you look, that's what anchors the sequin on. Now let's see how this looks when I get the other one on. And the color I'm using is called Margarita, 6mm, slightly cupped opalescent. These opalescents are my favorite. They're gorgeous. And I wanted something that looked like a cat eye, that bright yellowish green. And I like being for Halloween. Now see, that one's a little low, but we'll fix it. So I put the needle through the seed bead, and then I will slightly raise the sequin up till I like where it's at, and then I'll go back through it with the thread, leaving the seed bead separate so that it will anchor. And there's his little eyes. Is that hilarious or what? Now for the nose, I'm going to just do an E-bead or a size 6/0 bead. I'm just going to put that right there. It's kind of hard when you're doing an all black kitty. Now see, that one wants to go sideways. I think it's because I put the threads too close together. So I'm going to have to pull this out. And what I did wrong is, because the bead is wide, if I want it to lay flat, I have to put the thread a little bit wider or it twists. So, and I'm using a very small beading needle. I bought that package that I showed in a haul a little bit back, like 1 or 2 hauls ago, and I'd bought those really expensive bead needles on 75% off. Well, one of the reasons I bought it is because it had a short beading needle, which I have never owned before. Beading needles traditionally are very long, and they're hard to work with. And I'm trying to get this needle threaded. There we go. And so what I need to do for this E-bead is I need to see how wide that bead is, and then go over that amount of space. And let's see if that makes the bead lay a little better. So I want it to lay with the, yes. So it lays a little better. Not sure if it's completely, but since the face is at an angle, the nose can be slightly off because we're looking at an angle. Now I got to do the mouth. Now, traditionally for a cat mouth, you're going to do the little anchor looking thing. And I'm trying to figure out how I want to do that. So, thinking I'll come back out way under this nose. So I'm going to come up from way under the nose. And then just put a few seed beads on my needle. We don't need it long. And just hold it up to the drawing, so 3 is plenty. And I go back down. It's a long piece of thread. Okay, so if I go straight down from his mouth, or from his nose, and then I go down, that makes that little, and then I can start up here, and we want to do that little arch to the mouth. So what I'm going to do is load them on. And if I make it long enough so it doesn't go straight over there, I can make it naturally arch, and then just catch a thread in the middle to keep it that way. Now these beads are very good quality. I'll show you what they are. Now the key to making it arch is you want to put enough beads on there so that when you pull it over to where you want it, it arches. But see, it's, unfortunately, this thread is twisting, and it's not laying flat, and I'm not really sure why. Okay, let me just go in and see how it looks. Let's see how it looks when I go in, if it makes an arch. Okay, see how it made the arch? And then I'll go from the other side, do the same thing, and then I can secure it because it's going to flop up. So we'll see how many seed beads I put. So I put 1, 2, 3, 4, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These seed beads are really even and nice, and these are from Hobby Lobby. They're normally $2.99 right there. Now the check glass beads are on sale for 50% off, so these tubes are $1.50. But you got to pay attention to when they have these sales, because there was only 2 black left, and I got lucky to get those. So you want to pay attention, and when they say that that's what's going to be on sale, if you need seed beads, get down there early so you can get the colors you want. I believe you can get a rain check. I don't know though. I have never tried it because they're on sale so often that it's not a real issue. Now I'm going to go across over to where this side of the mouth is. I'm going to just kind of go straight over to there, and I'm going to pull that and see if it looks good. And then that gives the other side of the mouth. But it's arched up a little bit. I think one less bead on this side would be good. So let me pull this out. I'm going to take one bead off, because sometimes, uh-oh, I think I just had a couple beads roll off. I had 6. Let's see, yeah. When I took the needle off, I think a couple beads followed, because now I've just got 4 on there. But I wanted to make the face cute, but I really cannot use sequins to do detail that fine. I mean, technically, I have tiny sequins, but it wouldn't stand out. As it is, being an all-black cat, it's going to be a bit difficult anyway to get it to look the way we want it to. Now, you don't have to sequin an entire piece. Okay, now that time I went too close. See? I went too far. So, and this is the reality of this type of beadwork, is I'm tearing out and redoing most every project at least once or twice. It depends on the project. It depends on me, where I'm at that day. Right now I'm kind of tired because I'm not always sleepy when I need to go to bed. And normally that's not a problem. I can stay in bed, and if I want to sleep till 8, 8:30, I can. But when you have a gentleman showing up every day to work on your master bathroom, you really don't want to be in bed when there's somebody working in your master bathroom. So I have to be up by 7 every day to get dressed and ready. And he was gracious enough to leave the toilet for us. So every night I move in toilet paper, baby wipes, and hand gel, since there's no sink. So when I get up in the middle of the night, I have the use of the bathroom. So I have to get up every morning. Oh, this is just not wanting to. This might be the problem with the shorter needle. It's a much smaller eye. Yeah, I'll be right back. Okay. Hold on. We're trying this again. I'm seeing if I got it in the right spot this time. Let's see. I think so. Alright. Now, what I'll do is I'll come up kind of halfway, pull the thread, and I'll just kind of loop between the beads to hold it in place. Then I'll hold it down, and then I'll leap over here and do the same thing. Nobody will see the stitches on the back, and that way I'm just looping over the beads so that this will go between the beads and just kind of hold it. Now, I'm not worried about perfect. I tell you all the time, I don't worry about perfect. This is a handcrafted item. And then I am going to tie this off even though I'm not cutting the thread. I want it to really be secure. Okay. So I'm going to run through it a couple times in a circle. Just run around in a circle and then run a couple times this way in a circle. And that'll secure it. Then you can start your sequins. Now the reason I wanted to start the face first is I have to do that, then fit the sequins in between. So what I did is I came up in between the mouth. I'm going to go ahead and put a sequin and a seed bead and go right inside the little mouth there, right here. So I want to see how that's going to look. Now, a lot of times you can get these seed beads to kind of tuck up and around. See, I might have to get a smaller sequin. I think these are 5mm, so they should be small enough because you can see how much. This is what I find fascinating, what the difference is. This is a 6mm, and oh my gosh, they're sticking to my hand. That's the difference between a 5 and a 6mm. It's pretty big. I mean, you wouldn't think it'd be that big of a difference, but it is. So I would have thought the 5 would be perfectly small to fit in there, and it barely does. So I think what I'm going to do is, and then this side here, I did not leave enough room. So I may have to do the face in a 4 if I have it. So let me go look, and if I have a 4mm, we'll redo the little face with that one. I'll be right back. I found some unlabeled ones that appear to be smaller, even though they're not marked, and I don't think I've bought anything less than a 5. They seem to be smaller than the 5. So let's see how this looks when I get it in here. It just needed to be a tiny bit smaller. Whoa, I nearly knocked you down. Let's see. I'm just going to go for it here. Again, remember, do not go back to the seed bead. And then let's see how it looks. Yes, that one fit in there much better. Now let's go over to this side and see if it'll fit. This one's a little smaller, which is something I should have considered. But I've never done this before, so it's a new technique. Let's see if I can fit this smaller one down in the smaller side of the cheek. All right. Just going to go for it. I'm just pulling it. See how it looks. Yeah, I think it went down. Yeah, tucked down kind of under. Looks pretty good. So I'm going to finish the little face, and when I get done with the face, I'll show you how it came out, and then we'll move on. So I'll be right back. Okay, I've got the whole face finished. Now the problem is, when you're working with black on black, you can't see it. So I really don't know what I want to do about that, because there is no definition in the face. I mean, in person you can see it, but at a distance, no. So I really was afraid to do this cat for that reason. All you see are the eyes. See if I can get it where you can see it, but it's not readily apparent. But for Halloween, you want a black cat, so it's just going to have to be like that. And right now I'm going to go bead around the whole edge of the piece, because that's how I make my ornaments. Is I start and I just do one all the way around, which will kind of fill in the legs. I'll fill in the legs as I go. The reason I do that, if you haven't seen it in another video, is if you just fill back and forth like this, chances are, especially on something that's got bigger areas. You'll get down to the last area and you'll either have enough room to do a row and then there's not enough, well, basically that's it. You'll get down to the end, you'll do a row, and then you'll have too little for the last row. Where if you fill in the edge, it's easier to cram a row in between that last row in that empty space. It won't look bad at all. You won't even notice it. But if you overlap the felt, it'll change the shape of the piece. If you're not to the edge, it can ruin the piece. So if you do around the entire edge, which means filling in small items like the legs and the tail, then that will help you to not have those gaps at the back end or the bottom, wherever you bead to. You won't end up with a section that's ruined. So I'm going to go do, probably just going to go ahead and fill in the cat and come back and show you how it looks finished. And then we will do the edge where we stitch it together. I'll be back. Okay, I finished the front of the cat. So he's completely, I got the back stuck to there. He's completely beaded. And you can see how the little face kind of disappears. But I was talking to my friend Cheryl Coyote, and she said, no, that's kind of how real cats look too, that when she takes pictures of her cats, she sees two glowing eyes. So I feel a little better. The details are there when you hold it in person, but I guess it's showing up a little bit on camera. But I'm going to show you how to sew it together. So make sure you match it up, which on the cat is easy because there's only one way it can go. You can't really mix it up. And then just pick where you want to start edging it. And I'll pick an easy place, the back, middle of the back, so I can show you. And so what I do is I open up, I put them together like a sandwich. Then I open it up and I come in through the back and I go between, I go in the back and try to come up between a couple sequins. And then I pull the thread through so that the knot is in the middle of the sandwich. Then I close the sandwich. Now normally I go up, back through, and up. Well, I can't really do that easily. So what I do is I go through the back. So I'm going through the back of the two pieces of felt, right back to where I started, and come back up through those sequins. And I'm going to make a circle and pull it tight, which kind of holds the two pieces together. Now black on black makes it harder, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Now I'm going to pick up 3 seed beads for the first stitch. And I'm just going to pick up 3. And if your seed beads aren't uniform, just try to get 3 that look as good as possible. Then I'm going to go right back from the back to the front again, the same spot I came through, and make a loop. And then I'm going to come through, and you'll watch those beads form a triangle. And you can kind of help it along a little bit, push it. Okay, see how it formed a triangle? I'm going to go through the direction I'm going, which is across the back to the tail. The very last or first, whichever way you want to go, I'm going to go back up through that seed bead. So see how I grab that seed bead, the one going the direction I'm going. I've had some people have trouble with my edging tutorial, so I'm trying to figure out a way to do them better. So you're going to go back up through that one. Now, one thing I want to tell you, when you're doing this edging, make absolutely sure you do not come up through a sequin, because when you come up through a sequin like this, if you go through and do the whole stitch, you'll pull a thread over the top that'll be visible, and it could pull your whole sequin over out of place. So make sure if you see your needle coming up through, come back down and go back up. So once you have the first 3, from now on you only have to add 2 to continue making your triangle edge. So now you're going to go back through the back again, as close to the other one as you can. You're going to go pretty close, because their seed beads are not very big. And you're going back through just like you did the last time. And then you're going to pull it and watch it pull down and make another triangle. See? So now I've got 2 little points. And again, back through the second one, going the direction that you're going. See? Going back up, the one that's pointing the direction you're going. Then you're going to pull it tight. Now you're going to catch on a lot of sequins. I warn you when you're doing this. And you want to make sure you don't catch any sequins. And you're just going to keep doing that all the way around the piece. 2 seed beads at a time until you get to the end. And when I get to the end, I'll show you how I finish it off. So I'll be back when I get everything done and I'm down to the last couple beads to finish it off. So I'll be right back after I've done all that. I'll do one more stitch first just to make sure, because I've had several people really struggle, so I'm trying to make it better. So 2 seed beads back through. You're going to want to go as close as you can. Let me take my glasses off, but okay, I got to get back there with this black felt. It's really a pain. So go behind, get fairly close to the last stitch, and you'll see the sequins kind of move as you push, but you're going to push up under them. And then you're going to pull that through both pieces of felt again, and you're going to pull it till it makes your triangle. See, it's like magic. Then go back up through the one pointing the direction. You want to go up through the bottom, and you're basically looping it on is what you're doing. You're basically making loops and looping each seed bead on. And there's 3 points. See? You got 3 there. Okay, so I will be back when the whole cat is edged, show you how to finish it off, and then we'll do the loop. So I will be back in just a little bit. One thing I forgot to mention is that I like to take a little cotton and lightly stuff it as I go. This is cotton just out of a vitamin bottle, but you can use the cotton that you buy in the little cotton balls for your bathroom. And basically what I do is I kind of put the cotton through the piece and stitch. As I stitch it together, it just gives a little bit more bulk to it. Now you don't have to do legs or tails on this type of a piece because those are too little. You just kind of want to stiffen the body a little bit. So I'll put like one big chunk of cotton out of a vitamin Bible. Do you remember the book, The Vitamin Bible? Out of one vitamin bottle will really do quite a few ornaments. And unless you're doing like a big round and you want to use a lot. But every bottle I buy that has supplements in it, and like I buy turmeric, and sometimes they're dyed a little orange from the turmeric. But, you know, we get a lot of milk thistle and turmeric and ginger and different things. I save the cotton. Vitamin C. If you buy good quality vitamins, which we tend to do, you'll get this nice cotton, and I've got jars of it. I just stuff it. I'll save an old spaghetti sauce jar, wash it out really good, and stuff it full of cotton. So I have jars and jars of this after 30 years. But if you don't have any of this and you don't buy supplements, it's fine. You can use fiber fill, like if you have a big bag, or if you have an old pillow that's clean, like you have a throw pillow that you're just going to throw away because it's just old, it's ugly, whatever. Rip it open, and if the stuffing's clean inside, you can use that. It's a little harder with that type, but you can use it. You can use the cotton balls that you buy for your bathroom. There's all kinds of things. You could probably, if you really wanted to, cut a tiny piece of cardboard, but I've never tried that. But cotton's pretty easy to come by because, like I said, you can take it. I bought a body pillow that was way too fat. I hated it. It was just ridiculous. So I paid $10 for it, and when I looked at it, it was stuffed so full. It was the equivalent of 3 or 4 bags of fiber fill. So it's in my cupboard, and I use it for fiber fill for projects. So there's all kinds of ways you can get fiber fill or cotton to put into your ornaments. But I wanted to show you that real quick. So you're going to put in, and basically what I do is I just kind of put as much as I want, kind of sandwich it between the 2 pieces. And on the cat it's easy because I'm only doing the body. Then I'm going to shut the cat back up, and then I'll just kind of, you know, make sure. I usually take, I know it's probably not a good idea, I usually take my scissors and kind of tuck it in as I go, you know. And I won't do the tail because it's so small. By the time I bead along the edge and around the other side, it'll make it pretty stiff. But you can put like a pipe cleaner in there if you really want to stiffen it. You could take a little piece of pipe cleaner. I wouldn't use wire, but you could use a little piece of crafting pipe cleaner. Wouldn't matter what color, you wouldn't see it, but black would be best, I guess. You could put that in there. You could put that in the legs, and that will, you know, hold it stiffer. But I really think just sewing it with the edging will hold the legs are so thin, and the tail, that should be fine. So you just really want to stuff the bigger areas of the piece. And I just literally take my scissors and go in there and tuck it in. And you can just kind of see it sandwiched. You just don't want the fiber fill coming out the edges. So anyway, that's one step I forgot to tell you. That just gives it a little bit more stiffness. And you can stuff them really full if you want, or just lightly stuff them. And it really depends on the piece I'm doing, but this one just needs just a little bit to stiffen it and give it a little more texture. I might add a little bit more to it. I probably add just a little bit more. Probably when I get the tail done and I get to about right here, I'll probably, maybe even down the leg a little bit, I'll stuff this whole side. And then as I come along, I'll come around the leg and come up here is when I'll start to really add it in there. I start with a little basic, and then, like I said, as I get around, come around the tail, come around here, and get to about here, then this whole back side is finished. I can really push it in there really well. Then when you do the leg and get to about here, so you still got the whole head, you can really get this whole part filled up nice. And then as you get around to when you get to the head, you can just make sure you have enough in there that you like, and then finish off the head. So it's really easy to do. It's really your personal taste. You could probably do it without any stuffing at all. In fact, most of the vintage ones I've bought don't have stuffing in them, but I just like how it looks. Anyway, wanted to give you that step real quick. I'm going to get it finished and come back when I'm done to show you how to finish the edging, and we'll do a loop. I'm ready to do my last stitch on there, and let me show you what I did. I went all the way around, and I'm down to where I have the first bead I put on, which is flat against the fabric, and the last bead I put on, which is flat against the fabric. So all you're going to do is put on the point for that stitch, and you're just going to go, you're coming out of the last stitch, and you're going to go down into that first bead that you did. Remember when you added the 3 beads at the front, and it just finishes it off, and that's all you do to finish it. Then I take the needle and thread, and I go in circles, one direction. This is where using a thread and felt that are the same color really come in handy. And if you only have white thread, you can use white for the back of pretty much any ornament, even a black cat. It's not going to show from the front. Then once I've done a few stitches that way, then I put in a couple going the other way. Oh, it does tangle quite a bit. And then once I get a couple the other way, that is the biggest issue when you're doing these pieces, is the thread catches very much on the sequins. Whoops. And then I go back through the other way again. Now, you can put a dot of glue on here, as I tell you every video, but I never have, and I frankly never had one come out. So, there. Then I just cut it really close to the end. And then we have our finished cat. Now to do the loop, basically you're going to need thread. Now I like to have a 6-inch loop, but I like it doubled. So I'm going to cut a full ruler's worth, 12 inches, but I'm also going to add a little bit to that. So I'm probably going to go probably about 14 inches, so that when I double it, let me put the needle on here for you. So when I double it, I'll have more than enough room to not only string the beads onto the thread, but okay, one thing the thread does too is it splits sometimes when you're trying to get it through. There, that time it went right through. What I like to do is, I think I cut it too short. Yes, I messed up. So I don't normally measure. Okay. Basically what you want to do is I want a 6-inch loop. So I thought that meant I need 24 inches because I want to double it. Okay. So I'm going to do, I just always just cut a big chunk off, but I'm trying to give you some direction here. So I did a little over 24 inches. And the reason I do that is, and I could be totally wrong, and you know what, if I am, we'll measure what's left and we'll go from there. It's funny, you know, people here, when they're on a TV show, they tell you, oh, it's so easy to do it from your couch, but when you're in the middle of it, and it's the same when you're making YouTube videos, any kind of tutorial, even if it was in person. You know, it's easy to think it when you're doing it yourself, but when you're trying to show somebody what you're doing, that's when you're going to mess up and make a mistake. Okay, so I tie a knot, making a long loop. Now, this loop is over 12 inches, about 13 inches, and I want a 6-inch loop. So that gives me more than enough space. Now, the way, you could probably do it less, but I think that's going to work. Because I'm going to do 6 weeks, well, I guess it's probably you could probably cut it a little shorter. Let's see how much is left over, but you always need a little extra because when you tie the knot, you've got to have some string to waste, because if you don't have enough room for the needle to easily move through and tie the knot, you're in trouble. So I like to take and balance the ornament on the needle and see where it hangs perfectly. And right in this area. So I'm going to come, I tied a knot, and I'm going to go in the back of the piece, and I'm going to come up through a bead, and I'm going to hang it to make sure it's still level, and it is. Okay, now all I'm going to do is put on 6 inches worth of beads. Now you can put a ruler in front of you and measure, but it really doesn't have to be 6 inches. Whatever you want. Now sometimes I will put a clasp on these, and sometimes I just do a loop. The clasp is really handy because it will help you to hook this on places that you can't hook onto with just a loop. In other words, if you wanted to hang this cat on a cupboard handle that's a C-shaped cupboard handle, you couldn't hook a loop, but you could put the magnetic clasp through it. So I am going to do that, which means I should have made it shorter. But that's okay, because what we'll do is we'll do half, go back through, and you use a lot more thread doing this. Go back through, tie off, then we'll tie on the other half. So I'm going to turn this off for a minute and go find a magnetic clasp. Then I'll come back and we're going to do the loop. Alright, while looking for my magnetic clasp, I also found my little spool of black thread. So this is what you can easily buy on Amazon or different brands in the craft stores or online. Now this is a magnetic clasp, and what I like about these is that they clasp. Look at how strong that is. Look how far apart that is. Now that one was too far, but I mean, they're amazing. What I do is I leave it connected while I do this, and I'm going to put on about 3 inches of beads. And at that point, I will add the clasp and then go back through the beads. And then I'll go through the back of the piece and then come back up through the next flat bead. In other words, I'll skip the top point of the beaded triangle and come up through the next flat one. Because you know there's 2 flat with a third bead on top, you know. So I'm going to come up through this flat one, skip over the top one, and then come back up. Well, I'll go up through this one, come back through this one. Then I'll come back up through this one and come back down to that one. So you're using these two and not touching the one on top. Okay, so that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm making sure I have plenty of beads out on the tray. And this is my $1.50 on sale tube They normally run $2.99, but these are on sale a lot of the time at Hobby Lobby. So you can pick them up at least every month. There's a week that they're on sale, and oftentimes it's more than a week. So let me get this light over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add on the beads, and I like to pick them up with my needle. I don't know if you can see me here. I think I'm out of frame. And so let me pull this up, and I just pick them up like this. I pick them up and pull them with my finger like that. I pick them up. Let me see if I can get it so you can see it. Pick it up and then push it back. I just touch my needle through the bead and then pull it back. And then when I get the needle fairly full like this, then I pull them down. And I'll just keep doing that. Now I'm just going to do that while I'm talking to you. So I'm going to keep doing that. I want to get this first side done, and then I'll string the other side and come back. But I just want to show you real quick. It goes very fast. I was talking to my daughter today, the one that's going to help me do a project. Well, I'm hoping both of our daughters will help me do a project, but she said, Mom, you need to have your face on camera more. And I told her, but the whole point is to do tutorials. You don't need to see my face for that. Well, you need to show your face on there more often. So I thought that was funny. So I'm just trying to give you the tutorials or show you the things I bought. And wait till you see, we went to an estate sale. I've got a sequin on my finger. We went to an estate sale yesterday, believe it or not, on a Sunday. 75% off. And in fact, the woman running it told us, I said, yeah, I didn't know you'd be open today. She says, well, we weren't supposed to be, but I saw how much we had left over, and we decided we'd go ahead and stay open and see what else we could find. Well, I got some really cool stuff, and it was all 75% off, and I want to get this cat done. Then I'll do that video, and then I've got to work on an order for a friend of mine. She ordered 3 ornaments. But while I'm doing that, in the evenings, I want to work on a parrot I'm doing for Lisa over at Desert Dragon Works. And wait till you see this parrot we're designing. It is amazing. I am very excited to make it. So that's going to be the next beaded project I work on, is the parrot. And she picked brilliant, pretty blues and greens and oranges and I think yellows. I can't remember. It's just so cute. And I'm really happy with how it's coming out. Let me get the ruler. I'm going to mark it at about 3 inches of beads. So I think that's perfect. And then what I do is I take this. I like these because the ring does not have a split in it. I don't like using jump rings with thread. So this does not have a split in it. It's, I don't know if you can see it. Let me put the light up. It's a ring that's all the way, it's like welded on. There's no cracks or splits. So I just take the needle and I go through it like this, pull it on, and then I go catch it with my finger, and then I go through it again. And then pull it tight and get that pulled down to there. And then I'm going to go string back through the needles, or the seed beads. Now this is the stressful part. And that's when I should use the longer. But you know what? The shorter beading needle is actually easier to control. Now as you're putting them on here, you want to make sure you're catching all the beads. Because if you skip one, it'll look terrible and you'll see the thread. And I just kind of pull it as best I can get it to do. Okay, why isn't it pulling? Sometimes it does not want to cooperate. Okay. I don't know what's going on here. There we go. Sometimes you gotta manipulate it a little bit. And just kind of tug and pull this. If you use a double beading thread, you're not in any danger of breaking the thread. If you're using sewing thread, it's very likely to break. But beading thread is nylon, and it will cut your finger before it'll break. So you can go ahead and pull, and then if you see a thread, pull again, because sometimes the thread will kind of loop out of the side. Just make sure you haven't skipped a bead. Try to always check before you get the needle pulled all the way through. So this is what I do. I will pull through as many beads as I can, a couple at a time, till I have my needle full. Then before I pull the needle through the thread, I look at it. I roll it, I make sure there's no missed beads. Then I carefully pull it through. Like that. Okay? And it looks good. Almost to the end. Normally I don't show the whole looping process, but I'm going to start trying to do more thorough tutorials for the people that have never watched a tutorial before. Okay, and again, I got it strung, so I don't want to pull it till I'm sure. So if this is the first tutorial, they'll know what I'm doing. Now, you got to come right back. You got to figure out where that thread's coming out. You can see where it's coming out. So you're going to go to the last 3 beads. And then go right down through that same bead onto the back. Like that. All right. Okay, it catches on this one for some reason. Now, what I'm going to do before I tie any knots and do the other side, I'm going to make sure this is flat, that there's no thread showing. See how you can see there's no thread. You know, you've all had a strung necklace that after you've worn it for a few years, when you latch it on the back, you'll see a little bit of thread showing by the clasp. You don't want that to happen, because that will relax over time. Not so much with the beading thread, but it can. That's why when I make beaded earrings, I tie it so that they're a little bit wonky looking at first, because they do relax. Then once you're sure you got it nice and tight, then you're going to do that same thing I've taught you before. You're going to loop through. Now the only advantage you have here though is you've got 2 strings. So I'm going to loop through a couple times, and then because I have, it catches. Okay. Some people hate making these type of ornaments because it's such a pain. But then, now before I cut that off, I'm going to cut it pretty long, and I'm going to tie a couple knots. Then I'll cut it. That way, you know, it kind of gives you a little extra. You've already gone through a few times. Okay. Now I'm going to leave it for now, and I'll tell you why. Because when I come back through, I'll circle through the second one a couple times. Then I'll take all 4 big ones, tie one big knot, and then I'll cut it all. So now we left the hook there so that when we go through, we can make sure it hangs level. Now I'm going to go through the front over here. So I've got to cut another big piece of thread. Now I use this giant one like I told you just because I use so much thread, and I'm going to be using so much thread that we figured 14 inches, right? And that's all we have left after I cut that long piece. So really I could get away with maybe 11 inches or 22, because we did twice. 22 instead of 24. So I'm going to do 12, 22. Let's see what's left when we do this one. Now you don't have to knot the thread until after you thread it, because you're tying a knot. Okay, what did I do with my needle? There it is. Because you're tying a knot at the end after you get it looped. Now you can just do a plain old loop, but unless it's an ornament that's only going on a tree, if you're making something that's not going on a tree, an angel or a Halloween or some kind of decoration, this is the way to go. And you don't have to use magnetic. You can do the same thing with a toggle clasp, a lobster clasp, but I like the magnetic because they're very strong. And when you're trying to get it into an awkward space, like a car mirror or something, it's so easy to catch that you don't have to worry about hooking your lobster claw in a spot where you, oh, these are old scissors. They don't even work anymore. Okay. Oh, it's catching on my scissors. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to go up through the next one over. So, remember we had the bottom one. There's the top of it. And then we're going to go back up through the next bottom one. See? So there's one bead on the top in between. All right. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing. But the cool thing is, I'm going to lay this out, and when I get to where this will go evenly through that with keeping this straight, then I can tie through there and go back through, and then I'll come back when I'm going to tie the knot. I'll be right back. So cutting that extra 2 inches made it just about perfect. So if you're doing a loop, then 22, was it 22 or 20? Whatever you saw me measure, I'm so confused. Anyway, 2 rulers worth should be about right to leave you just enough to tie a big knot. But remember, the first time, well, I guess you could wait and just tie 2 knots, but on the first one I like to at least secure it while I wait for the second one. And technically you could do the same on the second one and secure it by going through the fabric a couple times, and I guess that's what I probably should have done, but this will be fine. Then once you've tied it in a few knots, you can just go ahead and clip it, just leaving a little tiny bit of a tail there. Same with on this one. No one's going to see the back, and you know it's where you finished it off. So there you have it, the finished kitty. And then you just kind of untuck the eyes. See how they get tucked behind the sequins? You just kind of untuck them so those eyes are really prominent. And there you go. Finished kitty. So I hope you enjoyed yourself. Thank you so much. Sorry about that. FedEx was driving up right as the mailman drove off, and I wanted to make sure my son got out there because it's raining today. But anyway, I apologize. So thank you again for watching. I really appreciate you guys. I hope you enjoyed this little kitty video. And I'll be back soon with that new haul, and you'll really enjoy that one. Just a lot of really interesting little quirky things. Some fun things. Some unique things. It was a fun shopping trip. And I will hopefully be back with the parrot soon. I'd give you a sneak peek, but I just don't want to yet. I really am proud of it. I'm excited of how far we've come and looking forward to doing that video. But I'll be back soon. Thank you again. Bye.